I've got Ruth wandering around in the background and she's snuffling away, so we will see how we go having a chat with her snuffles. I've been thinking about you. I have a couple of audios almost ready to go, so I'll upload them. I was watching one of Dr. Ramani's videos this morning. Excuse me, I've got a itchy nose. And she was talking about narcissism. You know that I love Dr. Ramani. She was talking about how the behavior of someone with narcissistic traits can turn off the victim's light, and the victim can allow their light to turn off and they can stop shining for many reasons. One of the reasons is it just becomes too hard to shine, too difficult to shine. And I thought about this, and there's two aspects I wanted to talk about. One is the notion, care of Dr. Ramani, of turning off our light. The other is the notion of boundaries and the importance of setting boundaries. Ruth is going crazy at the moment. We haven't done our morning walk, so she's running around the house in a crazy fashion. So, two aspects. Let's explore turning off our own light after or during experiencing narcissistic behaviors. And the second is the absolute vitality of setting and maintaining boundaries. One of the problems with boundaries is that boundaries are learned. So if we have a childhood where we have not felt safe and people around us have done things that have compromised our safety. I have a very good friend at the moment who had a very difficult childhood, and I can see in this person's adult behaviors that they just don't expect people to respect them. So their boundaries are watery. The more you sincerely want to love others, the more you will set rock solid boundaries. Setting boundaries is not easy because setting boundaries often doesn't win you any favors or friends. Setting boundaries is about saying no. Setting boundaries is not about controlling another person's behavior. Often people think that boundaries are about keeping other people out. And that's not correct. Boundaries are for you. Boundaries are for controlling your behavior and drawing a line in the sand with your behavior and your mindset. They are not for controlling behavior of another person, because that's their responsibility and their story. It would be just wonderful if we could set boundaries that control the behavior of another. We wouldn't need police, we wouldn't need political systems. It doesn't work that way. Boundaries are for you. When you have the boundaries of a house, those boundaries are there for the title of the house, so that everything falls around that title, the surveying of the house. It's not necessarily for structures beyond the house, but for the house to know its title. I can hear now, you may hear my neighbour, my beautiful neighbour who I like very much, Linda. She has, if you've been following my stuff, you'll know she's got synthetic grass. So every Saturday in Melbourne, she vacuums her grass for hours, which means I can't record audio. And I think that's funny. I just find it funny. Anyway, to restate, boundaries are for you. Life can become pretty hairy. It can become really challenging. It can be incredibly painful. And stuff can happen that just pulls the rug from underneath us and can make us question ourselves. Boundaries are for you so that you can define who you are, what you believe, what your values are, what you stand for, and to help you cement and carve out your direction. What you decide to do and who you decide to be is formulated through the setting of boundaries. Boundaries are kind of like learning your times table or eating your Brussels sprouts. Setting and maintaining boundaries can often be unpleasant because it means saying no to people that don't want to hear no. If you say yes all the time, you have no sacred space in which to be yourself. Ruth can hear Linda vacuuming her lawn, and Ruth would like to go out and say hello to Linda. Wouldn't you, Ruthie? The other aspect I wanted to talk about is our narcissistic behaviours dulling our light. The traits of a narcissist or someone with narcissistic behaviours is that they will involve themselves in grandiosity, control, coercion. They will undermine you, they will gaslight you, and they will use any narrative heard about you and rewrite that, often recreate memory, in order to place themselves in favour. And it can be incredibly tiring, exhausting, and often we can feel just like giving up. I don't believe it is about feeling angry. I don't believe, as a rule, it's about having strong affect or strong reactionary feeling. Obviously, reactionary feeling is understandable. It is understandable. I don't think it's necessarily helpful. There are times in life where anger can be motivational, can serve a purpose. But generally, heightened feelings of agitation, you know, those sticky feelings, those strong feelings, generally are not in our own best interest. When we're involved with a narcissist, it can reshape the fabric of our life. I know in my experience, if I had not met and involved myself or experienced the narcissist that I've experienced, I would be a different person. I would not be on YouTube if it wasn't for that person. That person continues to affect my life. And at times the child in me will question it and say, why? And then if I take a moment and think about it, the behavior of that person has without doubt inspired me to be more resilient, more open, more accepting, open to change than I ever could have believed possible. I never would have started creating content if it wasn't for that person's behavior, their defaming comments, their gathering people against me, their rumour mongering. It's inspired me to research about narcissism. But I think we need to be cautious. We need to be careful not to become a cautionary tale. We need to be careful not to become the narrative of somebody else's abuse. And when we talk about my narcissist, or there's another phrase going around, my narc, N-A-R-C, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I want to really emphasize that. But I think we need to be careful when using the word narcissistic, narc, toxic. Again, I'm not saying don't use those words. Just temper the use of the words and consider why and how these words help you be who you are. The behavior of a narcissistic person can drown us in a tsunami of emotion. It can be incredibly painful, and I don't want to judge or assume anything about your pain. I'm so sorry if you've experienced pain as a result of being involved with someone with narcissistic traits. But I want to share with you that you are amazing. You have incredible potential. You have worth. And your light is everything. When you shine your light, other people are warmed by the rays of your light. When you shine your light, other people benefit. Other people have hope. And hope and faith is everything. So perhaps you've experienced an unacceptable experience or tragedy or alienation or family alienation or friendship alienation, or you've been the result of the plot of a narcissist. I cannot say I'm sorry enough, but I also cannot say enough how you are enough and you can do this. Shine your light. Do yourself a favor and go over to Dr. Ramani's channel and have a look at the most recent video on shining your light. But know that you have the ability to think clearly, even if other people don't. You have the ability to unpack this, and you have the ability to learn how to use affect, modify your emotions, self-regulate, and set boundaries. Boundaries are the Brussels sprouts of the dinner plate of life. Eat your Brussels sprouts. Say no. Saying no doesn't have to be punitive. It doesn't have to be reactionary. It doesn't have to be absolute. You cannot define yourself unless you have limits, unless you have lines in the sand. You cannot be a defined character or personality without boundaries. I understand the effect of trauma bonds and childhood trauma and how trauma bonding can make setting boundaries difficult. I understand it's difficult. It's a practice. You get up each morning and you practice. You forgive yourself and you get back up and you practice. You set boundaries. You say no gently and thoroughly. Work through life. Enjoy the little things. Happiness, true happiness, is a blooming of the flower of the little things, not the grandiose, not the big mountain. It's the little things at the base of the mountain that give the journey of walking up the mountain true magnificence. It's always the little things. And likewise, it's letting go of some of the little things in life, letting go of the trivia that gives us joy. People can really let us down. It doesn't take away from our ability to be ourselves. Boundaries, turn on your light. Thanks for listening.